Hi, everybody, and welcome to this live. My name is Tiffany Yu, and I am the CEO and founder of Diversability. And I provide a brief visual description. I am a Taiwanese American woman with short black hair, and I'm wearing bright colored earrings. And if you need to access captions, I have a link pinned here so that you can join as well. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the Diversability Leadership Collective. It is a members only space that we launched back at the end of July, and we've had the honor of being able to welcome over 90 members to this space. And it's really a space for us to get a little bit more curated support and community and advance disability leadership and influence and advocacy. So I've got a few members joining. I see Emily on. But Emily left. So we're going to have Emily and Nico join us, and maybe Jessica. And so whenever people are ready, I'll have them end up joining. But if you have questions about the Diversability Leadership Collective, you can go ahead and put them into the chat, and we'll answer them as well. All right, here we go. We got some requests coming in. And so what happens in the Diversability Leadership Collective, and so we have a Facebook community that people can join. Hi, Emily, are you on? Just double checking that you are on.
Hi. Yeah.
Welcome. And then if we have Nico and Jessica on, if you want to put a request in to join, you can do that as well. Or if you are another member of the Diversability Leadership Collective and you want to come on, you can go as well. But Emily, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and just share a little bit more about who you are for our audience, that'd be great, and provide a visual description.
Yeah, sure. My name's Emily Vilsack. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a white woman with long brown hair, sitting in front of a beige background, and I have my brand new pink dream catcher hanging there that I just got. I'm extremely sick today with a head cold, but I got a negative COVID test, so we're doing good.
Oh no, this is commitment. This is commitment.
Yeah.
And hello, Nico, welcome. We're just doing quick introductions here. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience and let them know who you are and provide a visual description.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me and tolerating my tech difficulties. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here. My name is Nico Meyering. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a Caucasian man with like long-ish blonde hair. I have fairly large glasses on and a gray sweater. So going for this whole like disheveled academia look. And I'm sitting in front of a purple background.
Excellent, welcome. And we have one more guest joining us, Jessica, Jessica, can you hear me?
Oh, wow.
I know, look, we got a full party going on. Jessica, would love if you can introduce yourself and provide a visual description as well.
Hello, I'm Jessica Lopez. I am the social media manager for Diversability. I have brown long hair with blonde tips. I am wearing AirPods, and I am wearing a green shirt with metal decals on it. And I'm excited to be here today.
Awesome. Look at this party. All right. So I just have a couple of questions that I thought I would ask. So the first is, how did you hear about the Diversability Leadership Collective, and what made you want to check it out and join?
I can jump in.
Okay,
and go
I'm like, I
first.
feel like I have to call on people because we've got a little party here.
Yeah, I'll go first. I heard about the DLC through Whitney Bailey. She had me on her podcast, Spastic Chatter, and so that's how I heard about it. I didn't know anything about Diversability before that. I started following along on the Facebook page, and then I started following Tiffany on TikTok, and then came across the Instagram, and then all of a sudden I was just like, dang, this is a really cool community. And I'm just kind of diving into my own advocacy work, exploring how spectrum-based language in disability communities can be helpful, inclusive language. So yeah, I'm just kind of at the beginning of my advocacy journey. I started a platform called Disability is Not a Binary, which you can find on Instagram, but it has been really, the DLC has really been empowering for me, for sure.
Awesome. And do you want to share a little bit more about what spectrum-based language is for those who are kind of new to that term?
Yeah, sure. So in other types of communities like the LGBTQ plus community or sexual identities, we have started and are moving towards spectrum-based language because it's more inclusive and it can help folks really find their identity. I studied communications in school, and so I really believe that language is power, and when we can use language to identify as part of a community, it's a really positive thing. So yeah, I think there's this binary of disability versus disabled versus able-bodied. And for me, my entire life, I've kind of been in that gray zone between not being disabled enough to be disabled, but not being able-bodied enough to be able-bodied. So I'm straddled between those two communities. And so disability is not a binary, and moving towards spectrum-based language focuses all around empowering and including that gray zone between that binary.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, and I think we've had a couple conversations in the DLC about not being disabled enough, whatever that means. And I think that the introduction of spectrum-based language, like, really kind of creates, I don't know, a little bit more inclusiveness within our community, because I know there's a large group of people who have mental health conditions or live with chronic illnesses who don't know if they count or don't want to take away space from people who have multiple disabilities. And really, it's like there's space for everyone. We welcome you if you would like. Thank you for sharing all of that, and also for being here while you're feeling under the weather. All right, Nika, what about you? How did you hear about the Diversability Leadership Collective, and what made you want to join?
So all throughout the recent pandemic, I've been really fascinated by sociology and the different communities that we find ourselves in and the communities that we make ourselves. So another hobby of mine through the pandemic has always been Twitter doom scrolling, I think the current parlance is. I saw an ad for the DLC on my Twitter feed, and I follow, as you might imagine, a lot of disabled people. So interests kind of overlap. And I thought, that I would take the chance. It's probably the brightest part of my doom scrolling career, I'll say.
Yeah, and Nico has been, so we got to give a shout out to Jessica because she helps manage our Twitter, which had been, I guess, relatively dormant for a period of time. So Twitter marketing does work. And Jessica, I know you're part of our team, so I thought maybe we would transition and say, you've been part of our team since the summer. I want to say maybe 5 months now or 6 months. But what have you gotten out of being part of the Diversability Leadership Collective?
I think a lot of community. I have generally grown up being the only disabled person in my community, and I didn't realize that there was so much of a lively group of disabled people online, and it kind of all exploded in the pandemic. And I was really excited to join the team and then join the Diversibility Leadership Collective because it kind of gives you the access to meet other disabled people and have community, have mixers and be able to talk with each other socially, where that's really hard to find as disabled people, especially in the pandemic. And having that access to meet and hear other perspectives and other people who have different disabilities is really exciting to me because I can network with people, I can learn from other people, I can learned how people are making careers out of advocacy, and that's really exciting to see it all like happen in the Diversibility Leadership Collective, because you can see people like getting jobs, you can see people getting like press opportunities, and it's for me as part of the team, it's really exciting because I get to see it all happen and help facilitate it as well.
I also have to give Jessica a shout out because she set up the whole page as we were figuring out which platform to be on. Emily, what about for you? I know when you joined, you were kind of at the beginning of your advocacy career, trying to figure out where you fit. What value have you gotten out of the Diversability Leadership Collective?
Yeah, similar to Jessica, I've found a really empowering community. I also, since joining the DLC, have applied for my master's in communications and technology, which is really exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I haven't gotten accepted just yet, but sending an application was a big step for me, and
That's right.
and my thesis and my work is going to be focused on researching this binary around how we communicate about disability. And so that, honestly, I think a huge part of why I applied was seeing all the work that people are doing that are part of the DLC. It's super empowering. It's incredible to see how people like Jessica said, made careers out of this. And I'm really excited to kind of join my background in bringing tech-based solutions to underserved communities to the disabled community. Like that's kind of my next step in my career, and so super pumped about that. And also just even the workshops and the community mixers that we get to take part in through the DLC have been awesome. I've met so many cool people. For example, Alex Pappas, we met in a community mixer, and then 2 weeks later I was on his podcast. So just some really, really cool opportunities coming out of the DLC for sure.
Thank you. And Nico, you were National Mentoring Hall of Fame. You had given a TED Talk, like you had already kind of done a lot in the disability space. So I was curious, kind of what value you've seen out of the DLC, having, already gotten some accolades and some visibility.
I appreciate that. So what I get out of the DLC is also this sense of community, which is really integral because our wider society doesn't really tell stories of disabled joy or tell stories of disabled success. And it's wonderful to see those stories come to life. The value of the DLC for me would be in establishing the consistency of my volunteering and of my advocacy. I'm someone with a lot of free time. I'm very lucky to do that. And the best thing I can do is use that in an altruistic way to help my community. So I've been giving talks via Zoom a lot. Prior to joining the DLC, I've never been on a podcast, but now I've been on several podcasts, including Alex's podcast, which is a good time. Y'all should do it. So it's really helped me branch out and become more active at a time where I can afford to be active.
Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about the Facebook group. So we have a Facebook community that is open to everyone to join that has about, Jessica, are we close to 5,000 now? Maybe 4,600. It's got about 4,600 people in it. What do you think is the difference, and this is open to everyone, what's the difference to you between being part of the Facebook group versus being in the DLC? And maybe Nico, because I know you're pretty active in both, if you want to start with that. And then Emily, I'm not sure if you're on Facebook, but we'll find out. All right, Nico, what about for you?
Thank you. I think the DLC is more targeted towards opportunities. And then the larger Facebook group is more targeted toward discussion, I feel like. I've made a lot of good friends from the Facebook group, and I've managed to have good conversations on both platforms. But for just the sheer sense of vibrancy and urgency, you really can't beat the DLC.
I feel like I want to quote you there. You really can't beat the DLC. Emily, are you in the Facebook group?
Yeah, I am. I joined the Facebook group. That's the kind of first connecting point that I had with Diversability after my podcast with Whitney. I guess the difference for me is, unlike Nico, I don't have a lot of free time on my hands. And so if I'm on social media, I want it to be very curated. I want it to be very targeted and focused on getting stuff done. And so I really like the DLC, because if you're not in the DLC, we use Mighty Networks as the platform. And so why I like that is because, when I go to a Facebook group, I'm going to see all my Facebook notifications, and I'll be kind of like more likely to just start mindlessly scrolling. Whereas when I'm logging on to the DLC and scrolling, it's very intentional. So that's kind of the difference for me. I find that DLC, my interactions, my engagement, my community there is really intentional. I can definitely see in different phases of people's lives, when they do have more time on their hands, the Facebook group being super valuable. But yeah, for me, just being able to go on, filter the types of posts, see visibility opportunities, send messages, that's been awesome for me.
Yeah, thank you. And I will also share that someone from our team kind of curates the highest engaged posts from the last week in the Facebook group, also in the DLC. So we don't have as much FOMO. Jessica, I know, so we originally hired Jessica to our team to really help with the Facebook group. We didn't realize we were going to launch the DLC. And so I know, Jessica, you're pretty active in both. I'm curious if you want to share kind of what the difference is in the experience of both.
I think one thing, I agree with everything that Emily and Nico said. I think the one thing that I could point out is that the Facebook group has a lot of non-disabled people in it. So a lot of times you can find non-disabled people reaching out to learn more about disability. Like, how can I help? How can I be an advocate? What are the differences between different types of disabilities? Where the DLC is more for people who already usually have lived experiences of disability. So it's more of like the next step, where you can more get past all of the education and do something active with it. Whereas in the Facebook group, it's more of educational, which is really important as well. But that's the main difference that I see, which is I love both because you can learn either way.
Yeah. And thanks so much for naming that. I think one of the things that makes me the proudest of, one of the things that makes me the proudest of the Facebook group is we have a lot of people who have non-visible disabilities or haven't yet, figured out how much of their story they want to share joining the Facebook group. And because it is mixed between disabled and non-disabled folks, you have we actually end up having longtime lurkers who then come out after many years and say, hey, as a function of being witness to these communities, I've realized I have non-visible disabilities, or my kids do, and I want to be more empowered in that. And then I think with the DLC, it's, do you want to take your leadership to the next level, or do you want to take your advocacy to the next level? And kind of focused on growth from that perspective. So we've got a couple minutes left. We're going to be, I think, probably doing this maybe once a month. So I might have Jessica do our January one if we think this is fun. But I wanted to talk about the DLC, which is this whole thing. I wanted to talk about how the DLC, it costs money. So right now it is $20 a month. And come 2022, we're actually going to be increasing that to $35 a month. And we have sliding scale options and, employer letter support options as well. And so, it's expensive to be disabled. And I wanted to ask Emily and Nico about your decision to make an investment in the DLC.
Yeah, absolutely.
For people who might be on the fence. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a non-negotiable for me at this point. I've been in it for, I think, almost 4 months. And it's definitely the best return on investment in my expenses, for sure. Just the amount of experience, the amount of opportunities that have come my way through it is tenfold what I've paid month to month. And I think what's really unique about the DLC is there are paid opportunities that come out of it. So when I think of those paid opportunities, you know, that is so rewarding to not have to go searching for hours on end to find paid opportunities. They're just sitting there. The application links are right there. It's very accessible. It's very easy to apply. There's lots of supports if you do choose to apply for paid opportunities. So I mean, I guess I just see a big return on investment, and I think any expense that you choose to pay for month to month, you need to be really intentional about it. And this is one of those for me. I don't think it would ever go away in my budget.
Yay! We've got a lifetime member. Nika, what about for you? Nico, I think you were like probably our first you have to have had been one of our first paid members. Yeah. How did you kind of justify the costs or think through, is this an investment that I want to make?
Well, you vote with your money and you display your values with your money as well. And one of my values is helping my community. So it's an investment kind of in that regard. And it's also, the DLC is a huge part of my social life, and then my volunteer life. So it's kind of like someone would pay for a gym, or someone would pay dues to go to a country club or whatever, or think of like an intramural sports league. But the DLC is that for me.
And Jessica, I don't know if you have anything you would like to add.
I think it's a really cool investment because not only do you get like fresh opportunities and job opportunities, but you also get to learn. Like we have workshops, we have mixers where we talk about anything related to disability, and you can also learn from that because a lot of the people who come to our mixers are people who are skilled professionals who will share their knowledge in these mixers. So no matter what you join, you're always learning stuff, and I feel like even though I'm not like necessarily building my career yet, I'm laying the foundations because I'm learning so much from all of these different topics, from entrepreneurship to social media management, which is in my forte, but it's also great to learn more. And that's where I find a lot of value because it's like master classes are really expensive and we host them very frequently. So you get a lot of value for such a low price. To me, that's really awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for all making me feel good about this thing. I will say it has been a dream of mine to really kind of like cultivate and nurture this next generation of all of you, and to see, someone like Jessica who joined our team and hit the ground running and has had an opportunity to just network with so many people, to have Nico, come and lead master classes and Emily be part of our mixers, I think has been, I don't know if we would have met had it not been for the curation of this space. So with all of that, there's a link that is included here to join the DLC. It is, you get 1 week free to try it out. And if you hate it, then you can leave and no one is offended. Maybe just me a little bit, but that's okay. And then of course we have sliding scale options for people who, feel like they are going to get a lot out of it and, due to disability related expenses, are trying to figure out how to budget for that. So with that, I figured I would turn it to each of our speakers. And here you go. If anyone has any questions, you can put them into the chat, but someone said that Jessica is looking great. Yeah, Jessica, you look great. Actually, everyone looks great. So this is what it looks like to be a member of the DLC. We look great. But yeah, so I just wanted to share that. I will say, yeah, I'm just so excited of everyone that I've gotten to meet out of the DLC. I love that Emily talked about the paid opportunities. That is something, we don't believe in free emotional labor. We really want to figure out ways to continue to help support and nurture our community. And so with that, does anyone have any last words they want to say for our viewers who, or our listeners who kind of are on the fence about whether or not to join.
Yeah, I think I can speak to the experience of someone that maybe hasn't really had a platform yet in their advocacy work, or they're considering getting into advocacy and leadership work. The DLC is a really good place to start because I think you're going to learn a lot. You'll be surrounded by the people that are doing things so much more above and beyond what you're doing, and it's really powerful to be in the same community as them. And I never have felt like, people are like higher up or lower down than me. We're all kind of on this equal playing field. And one thing about the DLC is that it's super focused on collaboration, and there's like no competition at all. Like, it's super collaborative and super empowering. So yeah, if you're at the start of your advocacy journey, I think it's a really good place to start.
Thanks, Emily. Nico, what about you?
Absolutely. This is the time for all disabled people to kind of work together for the betterment of our community if they can. If they're able to do so, then this is the time to stand up and be counted and advocate for ourselves and the people that we love, the people in this community with us. Being part of the DLC is, for me, a way to do that. So maybe it is for you as well. Why not check it out?
And Jessica, final words.
I think the DLC is a really big eye-opener for me because I can see just how everything can work for disabled people who struggle to fit in a normal body advocacy career. And it's really awesome to be able to meet people. I'm very isolated because I live with chronic illness, and it's my way of being able to learn and meet other people and get to know people and have that socialization that I feel is more meaningful to me because it's people who have perspectives like I do, and that's really awesome to be around that and just absorb it all.
Awesome. And I will just close. And look, we're right at the 30-minute mark. Oh, here we go. We got some comments coming in. Some love for Nico. What you're doing and what you continue to do is great. You're all wonderful people. So
Thanks,
I want to share that I started Diversability. I will call it 1.0. The DLC is 2.0. I started Diversability 1.0 because I just felt really socially isolated and excluded in my experience. And one of the things I'm learning is that internalized ableism is fueled by the combination of absorbing messages that were broken or less than or need to be fixed, those continuous external messages, combined with not having community or collective spaces to talk about that. And so both the Facebook group and the DLC for me is, how can we come together and realize that we're not alone in this experience? And in Marie, from our team's words, like, unsubscribe from the ableist society, like, do the work that we need to do to unlearn that, but then also provide the opportunities and the visibility and the support in order to get all of us to the next level. Because, and I have this listed on our membership page, like, a win for me and a win for Emily and Nico being on Alex's podcast, and Jessica, joining the youth advisory board at Billion Strong. Like, these are wins for all of us. So all of your individual wins end up being collective success for all of us. And that's really like why I feel so passionately about all of the spaces that we've created. So with all of that, and now we're 2 minutes over, I talked for so long. I want to say thank you again to Emily and Nico and Jessica for joining this live. And I'm excited to welcome, whatever future members end up listening or watching to this, listening or watching this. We look forward to welcoming you into the DLC, should you choose to join. So with that, I just want to say thank you again, and I will say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.